I guess we'll just start with, first of all, welcome, I guess since this is mobile, welcome to A to Z Sports. And first of all, just what brought you guys in here today?
Mike Betchko and the center here. Known Mike for a long time, and he asked me to come and talk to the people here about some of the larger issues in sports business and sports marketing. So here we are.
And you know, Terry asked me to come as well, and I'm happy to do the favor.
You guys specifically have roles with the Sports Business Journal, but what exactly do those roles entail?
I cover marketing, which I think can probably mean anything. Try to get a little bit more specific, you know, sponsorship, endorsements, advertising creative, individual athlete deals, naming rights. I think whatever we cover at Sports Business Journal, our job is to track the money and the rights. So who's paying what, who's got, and who's not. And where is the money moving, where are the rights moving. And that's what pretty much the largest story is in sports all the time. So if we can do a credible job of tracking the dollars, then we'll have readers, and we do.
And I'm a reporter, so I break stories, write pieces on sports media, and like Terry said, you track the dollars. You see who's spending, what they're spending, and where they're spending. And there's a constant source of news and information that's coming from just those little dynamics.
In regards to reporting, how do you feel that with the emergence of social media, that reporting has it changed for you at all? Has the experience changed for you?
The experience has certainly changed with Twitter. I think that at the end of the day, you have the telephone and you have face-to-face, and that hasn't changed. What has changed is once a story gets out there, you're able to comment on it via Twitter. Once the story gets out there, you're able to push it out via Twitter, and you're able to really gauge how something's playing a little bit via Twitter, which is really the main social networking tool for journalists, I think. But as far as actual reporting, it's still working the phones. It's still getting out there and talking to people and breaking stories the old-fashioned way. That really hasn't changed for me at all.
How did Sports Business Journal get its start? Just kind of going back to the beginning, how did it get its start?
It predates me to some degree, but I think they just saw a void in the market. I covered the industry from a marketing publication before I worked at Sports Business Journal. The eventual parent is Condé Nast. It took them a while to find not only their audience but an advertising base, and it was always questionable whether there was a sustainable advertising base because people in our industry aren't necessarily used to advertising. So I think they're able to turn a profit in about 5 years, and we're about, what, 13 years old now?
Yeah.
It got there, so I give the vision to the people down in Charlotte that started it that long ago.
What do you think is the future for it?
Well, it's a leading question right now, especially because we're about to launch an international edition of Sports Business Daily. I think most of the competition out there is not very good, so I think we can trump them, fairly easily. But we'll have to have boots on the ground there pretty soon. So I think international expansion is one, and then maybe you segment that. Maybe you go to an Asian-specific edition. Maybe you go to a European-specific edition. If you get niche enough, you could do an Olympic-only edition. At one point, we were producing, this is long ago, we were producing an NBA daily just for NBA teams. There's all kinds of different models.
How was the experience for you being in, I know you showed the Bridgestone commercial, how was the experience of being in that commercial during the Super Bowl where all the ad rates just spike up and the viewership spikes up?
It was a little bit surreal because I was there writing about it, and all of a sudden I got pulled into it. And so that was interesting. It did demonstrate the power of the media to me because it actually didn't play on the Super Bowl. It debuted at least on the Winter Classic. I got emails and I got texts within a minute from 11 people. So it really demonstrated to me, and how long was I in that commercial? 2 seconds, but people picked it out. So even in this day where there's all these alternatives, people are paying pretty close attention to TV.
In the other interview, John, you mentioned about the decision about LeBron James. Do you think that that was more colossal because the whole thing from a PR stunt was just terrible, or that it was good in that ESPN got the viewers and that was kind of a really good thing, and that it was probably one of the more widely known events on ESPN probably for that even that year?
Well, it was colossal because ESPN got the viewers, but they didn't sell any ads around it, and it's a one-off, so it's not like a series where they can build off of it. And what it did is damage the ESPN brand, because all of a sudden, is it entertainment or is it news? And because if it's news, why didn't they just come out with the announcement at the beginning? They had to wait about 15 minutes into the show. It just didn't. It was colossal for just a number of reasons. PR is like the bottom part of it.
Interviewing-wise, what do you think if someone's doing a job interview? What are those things that they have to bring, or that question that they have to be prepared for?
Well, the obvious thing is just brush up on the company, know what their problems are, but I think it's more about, you have to have that as a baseline knowledge going in, but I think it's more about showing how you can be relevant to them. And, you know, one way you do that is by showing, okay, I know something about the industry, I know something about your position in there, and if you can draw a straight line from that to you, or even a kind of blurry line, fine.
Yeah, if you come in unprepared, you don't know the company that you're working for and the products that they have out there, it's a waste of our time, because it tells us that you're not going to do the work to get in there. So it is, like Terry said, just be prepared and get in there.
It's really basic advice, but you'd be surprised how many people don't follow it, and that's true in terms of, we see a lot of sales guys. We hear stories all the time about sales guys, and you know, they have one deck to give to everybody. Oops, I sent the FedEx deck to DHL with the other name on it, and that kind of stuff happens way more than you think.
What do you guys think is the greatest advice that you've ever received, and how have you used that?
John, go first on that one, okay?
I don't know. I think the best advice I've received is that, one of my first editors, just making me get away from my desk. I had to go to I was working again for a local newspaper. They wanted me to go to the local high school. It was in the summer, and she just said, find a story. I don't care what the story is, just find a story. It taught me to, not rely at the time, just relying on the phone, and actually getting out there. And I ended up with a front page story out of the deal. I forget what it was, but it was, you just nosed around, you found something, and it wasn't anything, nefarious, but it was just kind of I stumbled onto an interesting story. So I think the lesson that I get from that, for the job that I do, is, just number one, go the extra mile, and number two, don't be scared to get out there and meet people. Now there's a big crutch to using email or using Twitter. Use the phone. Get out of the office as much as you can, and your job will be a lot easier.
We get wrapped up in our technology a lot, and I go back to there's no substitute for good old-fashioned reporting. One of my favorite stories still, it's 20-some years ago, I'm coming out of the City Hall I'm covering, and this woman had a license plate parked next to me, and it said, love a rat. So I started talking to her about her license plate. Well, it turns out she had 100 rats as pets. I go to her apartment thinking she's the most insane person in the world. I came away thinking she was pretty sane, and everybody should have rats as pets. I read a long story about her. She goes on Letterman, gets written up in all kinds of other papers, gets her 15 minutes of fame. She's still out there. Still probably my most favorite story.
Is there anything you guys would like to add at all? Besides the fact that I hope we don't get arrested, and that's a horn for the ambulance.
I think in terms of content for students, the biggest mistake I see in what they think about the sports industry is that there's always marketing jobs. There aren't always marketing jobs. There's lots of sales jobs. So if you can sell, if you're interested in selling, if you think you can do sales support, that's a great way in. There's a million sales jobs. There's a million ways to sign on as a salesperson. There's many more ways in that way than probably any way. There's not that many ways in terms of marketing.
And follow your passion. Figure out what you're good at. Figure out what you're passionate with, and follow that. And try to make a career out of it.
And don't feel shy about asking people for help. A friend of mine's daughter or daughter's boyfriend, of course I'll talk to them. I don't have a job for them, but I'll give them as much information as they want. You know, I might do something silly like say, sure, I'll meet with you, but it'll be at 7:30 at the Starbucks. That'll weed out quite a few of them. But if you're really interested, you'll be there. But don't feel you have a network, whether you know it or not. At whatever age, you have a network. Don't feel shy about asking your parents and your parents' friends, your uncles and your uncles' friends. It's out there. You probably, within that network, know somebody that either works in sports or works for a company that has a relationship with someone in sports. So tap into it. That's how people get jobs.
Lastly, just for interested students, what is your guys' website so they can follow the content?
Most of it is behind a paywall, but not always. Sportsbusinessjournal.com and sportsbusinessdaily.com. And John is a fairly fanatical tweeter. I'm not, probably because I'm 10 years older.
I love the Twitter, so follow me on Twitter, and when we have stories that we put on free pages, I generally tweet those out as well.
Absolutely. Well, Terry, John, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.